announcing plans for a third flight with Bubs Australia. And the CEO of Bubs, Christy Carr, is with us today, virtually today. This flight would bring 4.6 million bottles of infant formula and pave the way for up to 27.5 million total bottles of Bubs infant formula to be supplied to American families in the weeks ahead. Third, the Food and Drug Administration is reviewing applications for another new high-quality imports to increase our supply. In addition to getting Bubs formula through the process, on Friday, FDA announced that Kendall NutriCare would be able to import formula from the...
As millions of Americans continue to face financial struggles, President Biden has finally decided to meet with the Federal Reserve Chairman to discuss a new action plan. They are now trying to send out more financial aid to Americans as soon as possible. This could be in the form of a gas rebate check. President Biden will meet with the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell on Tuesday to discuss the national economy amid high inflation, which has hurt Biden's job approval rating. According to Bloomberg, it's the first meeting between Biden and Powell since November. The schedule released by the White House said they will discuss the state of the economy, and the meeting comes with the country. While the country continues to struggle with rising prices and many sectors of the economy, the price of oil has risen to its highest level in 2 months since Biden announced in late March that he would tap into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to release 1 million barrels a day for 6 months. The Personal Consumption Price Index also rose by 6.3% over the previous year, ending in April, down slightly from the 6.6% annual inflation reported in March. The Fed has promised to raise interest rates aggressively to keep inflation in check, and Fed board members discussed the possibility of raising the federal funds by 50 basis points several more times and moving beyond a neutral monetary stance to a restrictive one. The aggressive stance taken by the central bank in recent months has put downward pressure on stocks. Republicans have repeatedly bashed Biden for rising prices, blaming his fiscal policy and the passage of the American Rescue Plan for contributing to inflation. Democratic lawmakers have responded by arguing that inflation is driven by supply chain breakdowns related to the crisis and a drop in oil and wheat supplies. Jerome Powell told lawmakers in March that the Fed should have acted sooner to contain inflation. According to the White House, during the meeting, Biden will also discuss the state of the American economy and discuss the president's top economic priority. Addressing inflation is to transition from an historic economic recovery to stable, steady growth for working families. And gas prices at the pumps are still really high, and the state has yet to send out gas rebate checks. And I know many of you are wondering, when will rebate checks arrive? Political wrangling between Gavin Newsom and state legislators has delayed delivering relief to drivers. The governor had hoped to start sending out checks in July, but now Californians will likely not receive gas rebate checks until after summer. Back in March, Newsom said, "We are taking immediate action to get money directly into the pockets of Californians who are facing higher gas prices as a direct result of the crisis." California's pumps are currently the priciest in the nation, averaging $5.80 per gallon. According to AAA, gas prices are anticipated to soar even higher this summer. State lawmakers are still debating how the gas rebate checks will be delivered and who will receive them. The governor proposed an $11 billion relief package. Registered vehicle owners would be eligible for $400 per vehicle, capped at $800 for 2 vehicles, totaling $9 billion in direct payments to Californians. Newsom's plan would also include public transit grants that would allow transit agencies to provide free rides for 3 months. State legislative leaders also have a different plan. Their plan would funnel $8 billion through the Franchise Tax Board. Taxpayers who earn an annual salary of $125,000 or less are eligible for $200 for each dependent. To be eligible to receive the stimulus card benefits, you must be a Chicago resident and have a valid city sticker for your vehicle. Now, data provided by the City of Chicago suggests that the median household income for a family of 4 is $93,000. According to local Chicago news stations, 75% of these cards will prioritize residents in community areas that have higher mobility hardship, while the remaining 25% will be distributed citywide. Now, costly gasoline prices could hamper the United States' economic recovery if it continues. So central is the price of fuel to the household budgets for millions of people. However, with an influence of factors sparking the recent price increase, a quick remedy seems unlikely. Inflation rates have been increasing sharply since August 2021 and have been out of the normal 2 to 4% range for a full year. The consumer price index rose 8.5% for the year ending in March. And now, Jerome Powell said last week, it is our job to make sure that inflation, of that unpleasant high nature, doesn't get entrenched in the economy. This was after he announced a half-point interest rate hike to combat inflation. Still, people are struggling with rising costs, everywhere from the grocery store to the gas pump. Keeping prices stable is part of the Fed's mandate, but so far inflation has kept increasing higher. The GOP is already leveraging inflation to weaken Democrats heading into the midterm elections, as they argue that Biden congressional Democrats have only caused the problem. Do you agree with this, everybody? Tell me in the comments down below. We have a ton of good news, Social Security benefits, SSI, and SSDI information that you want to know. Stay until the end of the video because you definitely don't want to miss out on this. Workers in other states will be receiving a $750 stimulus check, and just a few days ago, the office of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz confirmed that a bipartisan agreement had been made to provide frontline workers and small business owners with additional stimulus checks. In a statement, the governor said the state of Minnesota continues to show the country that a divided legislature can still come together to get things done. This bill provides hazard pay to frontline workers and relief for small business owners. Speaker Melissa Horman also said that the priority of the new package is to ensure that frontline workers who went to work every day, even during the worst days of the crisis, received the bonuses that they were promised last year. Now, the plan was formally approved by the Minnesota House of Representatives in February. Now, Republicans and Democrats originally couldn't agree on who could be eligible for the checks, with Democrats working to make them available to a broader range of workers. While Republicans wanted the money to be directed primarily to first responders and nurses and doctors, an estimated 667,000 workers from Minnesota will be able to claim the check. And if you've got a tax return filed, whether it was before or after the April 18th deadline, a tax refund should be headed to your way very soon. That's if you're expecting one. If you file on time, your refund money should arrive within 21 days of filing, and as long as there are no errors and you file electronically instead of direct deposit. To keep tabs on your refund, you can start tracking your refund. You can start tracking it to your bank account after the IRS begins processing your return. And the IRS has the ability to automate nearly half of tax returns. And according to the National Bureau of Economic Research, the IRS could correctly autofill an estimated 62 to 73 million returns with information that it already has. This will be covering 41% to 48% of taxpayers. So folks, if you guys found this video useful and helpful, tell me in the comments down below.
Meet this change in demand, but also to allow for social distancing and COVID safety protocols for workers. Now, as Americans have started to resume their normal lives, companies are struggling to keep up with the increased demand for goods. These supply chain issues and a worker shortage has resulted in higher prices across the economy. These issues do not fully explain some of the skyrocketing prices that we're seeing. The pandemic and the ensuing recovery have laid bare systemic problems in our economy, including market consolidation and price gouging. As our economy works to recover from the pandemic and the shocks to our supply chain, and as the world responds to Putin's reckless invasion of Ukraine, food and energy costs have skyrocketed for people around the world, including here in America and including in my district in Rhode Island.